drama in South Carolina today. In the last couple of hours, the Republican frontrunner for president dropping out of this huge event in South Carolina. He's doing so at the very last minute. Yes, Donald Trump is leaving the spotlight to the 10 other GOP contenders who are set to speak there in just about an hour from now in Greenville, South Carolina. Yeah, it was very sudden. Joining us now to talk about what's going on here is Chris Hahn, former aide to Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer. He's also a syndicated radio host, along with Keith Koffler, political editor at LifeZet.com. Chris, people are saying something different than what Trump is saying. Trump put out a notice saying, I have a business situation that's coming down to the wire. I'm so sorry I have to back out. Others are saying that it was his inability to stand up to somebody who threw him a question about President Obama's citizenship, who questioned it, that birther stuff that is so yesterday.
Right.
But Trump didn't say it was so yesterday.
Well, Trump was the king birther 4 years ago, so I don't know why anybody would expect him to disagree with the statements that were made at that meeting. And the question is, will this impact him in the polls? And I have said for a long time that what GOP primary voters are looking for right now is someone who is going to prosecute their Democratic opponent, call them names, and treat them rudely. And I think that Donald Trump is the answer that they're looking for. As for him not going to this debate or this event down in South Carolina, he could walk out of his front door and get more press and more media attention than any of those other 10 candidates going to that debate today. So him skipping it is really not even a factor for him.
Okay, Keith, you expect any more blowback from the fact that he remained silent in the wake of this birther's question?
No. This is where the D.C. establishment and a lot of the pundits just don't understand how the rest of America thinks. This is not a gaffe. There's something like 45% of Republicans who believe that Barack Obama is a Muslim. And furthermore,
believe incorrectly, right?
I agree. It is not correct. But what I'm talking about is this going to hurt him in the polls? And the answer is no, I don't think it is. Now, he should have shot down this guy and said, no, you don't condemn all Muslims. But you know what? There are probably a lot of Republicans out there who are concerned about any kind of excessive immigration of Muslims, whether they will fit into society, as in many cases they haven't in Europe, whether it will breed radicalization. I'm just saying as a political matter, this is not going to hurt him. It's not a gaffe. It may even help him.
Well, let's move on from that.
Agree.
Right. And Chris, you said that. So let's talk about whether him meeting with Putin, who hates the United States, would hurt him by sitting down and breaking bread with Vladimir Putin, who has been known to allegedly remove or eliminate people who challenge him politically. He hates the U.S. He invaded Crimea and took it. How will that go over?
I think that there is nothing that is going to harm this man politically if he is keeping to his word, saying, hey, I'll get along with everybody when I'm president. There's no specifics behind it. This has been a fact-free primary experience for Donald Trump. He has not put down any facts on the table of how he'll do things. So him standing with Putin or having lunch with Putin, that might actually be helpful for him in his presidential ambition.
Okay, but how about this? How about this, Keith? Will it be helpful now to Jeb Bush, who got a little lift from the most recent debate, and suddenly he is promoting himself perhaps as the anti-Trump candidate? Does he then finally figure out that maybe that's the way to get a little more attention for Jeb Bush?
Yeah, I don't think Jeb Bush has figured anything out. I mean, he has a lot of competition now in the anti-Trump candidacy contest. Carly Fiorina is rising. Rubio was viewed as someone who did pretty well in that debate and is rising as well. So if anything, Bush seems to be in more trouble. And if you notice what happened in the debate, he got his biggest applause line was when he referenced his brother. This was supposed to be what hurts him. He hasn't been able to distinguish himself, and he may actually start talking about George W. Bush in order to separate himself from the pack, which he hasn't been able to do.
Right.
I can't let you both go without bringing up this one. Loose lips sink Amtrak trains. Did you hear about this? That there is a big Democratic operative who was heard on an Amtrak train. And for those of you who don't live on the Eastern Seaboard, the Acela goes from D.C. to New York. Bigwigs are already on it, always on it. And this guy apparently was on this train saying that Joe is in. And people interpreted that to mean Joe Biden is going to announce his candidacy. Chris, when and if this will happen?
I don't think it's going to happen, Liz. I know he's testing the waters somewhat right now by going on this tour to Michigan and Ohio. But Joe Biden, if he gets in, he's getting in to win. And I really don't think that Hillary Clinton has been fatally hurt by these emails. I think, in fact, most Americans aren't even paying attention to it. Now, look, we see the rise in the polls of Bernie Sanders. We see her falling in the polls, but it's very, very early. She's going to do very well in the debates in October. I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty confident she'll be the Democratic nominee for president in 2016.
We've got to go. Chris Hahn, thank you. Keith Koffler, I appreciate it.